Good evening. Today is August 21st, 2019. Our thought for today is try not to become a man of success, rather become a man of value. That's by Albert Einstein. I want to go ahead and officially call this meeting to order tonight. Um, we're gonna, I think I'm gonna do the prayer tonight since this is a Wednesday night meeting tonight, and I didn't want to pull a pastor from his church because I know they have Bible study tonight. So I think I'm gonna do the prayer tonight. And followed by that, we're going to ask Commissioner Edwards if he would do the pledge. Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for this day, Lord, that you have set before us. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be in this community, Newton County. God, we believe this is a great community that you allow us to live in, and for that we say thank you. We ask you, Lord, if you would, Lord, to just bless the leadership of this community, God. We ask you to bless our emergency responders, God, their families, Lord. We ask you to be with them, Lord. We pray for Miss Jackie and Lord, that this anybody that done lost a loved one, God, we pray for them, God, in this time. We pray, Lord, that you would, if you would, be with us tonight in this meeting. Allow us to do the county business tonight and give you honor and glory in that, God. We thank you for that. Bless this meeting tonight. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Now we at the portion now. We wanted to adopt our agenda tonight. We have a few changes tonight. If you would go down to the consent agenda, we want to remove from the consent agenda A, and we want to put it on the regular agenda as 10A. We want to remove D from the consent agenda and put it on our regular agenda as 10B. And we also want to remove F and put that on our regular agenda as 10C. That's A, that will be 10A, D, that will be 10B, and F, that will be 10C. Any questions? Commissioners, I seek a motion that we approve the agenda.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. If you would, I'd like for the board to consider moving item number 14 to the county manager's report. Discussion of the Census Complete Count Committee.
Item 14.
Thank you.
If you would remove number 14, we're going to place that up under the county manager's report. Commissioners, I seek a motion of approval.
Mr. Chairman, I have a different agenda. Ms. Jackie, did you print another one? Okay. Could I see it before we vote on it? I move for approval of the agenda as amended with the changes.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you. I'm sorry. No, she do it. You do it. You do it. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity we allow citizens to come up and make comments about agenda topics only. You may do so at this time. You have 3 minutes to do so. Agenda topics only. You may do so at this time. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. Tonight, we got a special person in the house with us tonight. Mr. Ted Wynn, if you would please, you and your wife, if you would please come up. If you would, for you who may not know, Mr. Wynn has been with us. If you would come up, please. About 14 years. Is that correct? About 14 years with the county extension, and he has did so much for so many young people. It's amazing to me to give so many opportunities tonight, and he's getting ready to retire, and we just want to honor him and thank him for his service tonight. You have been such an inspiration to so many people in our community, and tonight we just want to tell you thank you. We appreciate you, and I know there's so many little 4-Hers out there that are sad but still smiling because you touch so many people's lives. So we do want to say thank you, and we want to say that we appreciate you. Would you care to say a few words, please?
It's with great appreciation that I say thank you to the Commission of Newton County for allowing me to come in and be a part of this community and this county for so many years, for half of my career. And it was a great place for me and my wife to raise our 2 boys. And now that they are often have a family of their own and they're actually settled here in Newton County, we very just much appreciate everything that y'all have allowed us to do and raise our family here. So it's with little mixed emotions, but I think it's probably time for me over 32 years to maybe move on. So thank you very much, and I appreciate y'all.
Well, we greatly appreciate you. And, you know, every time I get on Facebook, I see a picture of that little van, and it's full, it's full of 4-Hers, and they are just as happy as they can be. So we appreciate you, and we have a token of appreciation, and the commissioners, we want to get a picture with you tonight. I actually have 2. So. We have a wonderful staff. You do a great job. Thank you, sir. Also, you got your clock. So we know you're gonna retire. So, and I may need to take the clock back because your wife said she's gonna give you a $100 a long one. So you're gonna hear the watch this clock. Well, we greatly appreciate you, sir.
Oh.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You'll be McQueen. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next on the chairman's report, we have Mr. Jared Silvio and Miss Sarah Hall. They're gonna give us an update with the JDA tonight. Guys, if you would, please come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board of Commissioners. So this would be the second quarterly report for 2019. And it covers April, May, and June. There's been a lot of activity, so we're going to have a little technical demonstration of some stuff, and we're going to go through our normal routine of categories for discussion. So Sarah, why don't you start us off with the marketing activities?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for having us. If you'll notice to the screen, the first thing I want to start with is that earlier this year, I think you saw in our last report, we did a video kind of kicking off what's going on in the park, the new build. And then also we had the pleasure of hosting Governor Kemp, his First Lady, Ms. Marty Kemp, along with Congressman Jody Heiss, Senator Brian Strickland, House Representative Bruce Williamson, House Representative Dave Belton, the Commissioner of Economic Development, Pat Wilson, Commissioner of the Technical College System, Matt Arthur, and leaderships of Decatur, Facebook, the Joint Development Authority, and then the Economic Development Offices of Jasper, Morgan, Newton, and Walton County. And what you're going to see here is a few pictures. This is a photo outside of Decatur's facility. This is a photo inside of the Facebook, what's called the PMB facility, and you can see the governor and his wife and then the other representatives there. This is inside of the Bioscience Training Center, going over one of the modules inside of the facility. And this is one of our favorites, actually inside the Facebook facility. Facebook's team has photos starting from the top left photo is actually when we announced the project, and they put a photo each month along the wall to show progression, and that's the governor looking at that progression and timeline that's there. So we were very fortunate to host the governor and his staff and the representatives that were that represent that district and that area from the state level to really go over what's going on in the park, the development of the park, and really just the overall infrastructure. And so we were very pleased to have them recently. Along with that, as I mentioned, you saw some of our video content, but this second quarter has been very busy. I think last time I spoke with you, I was heading and preparing for a trip to take to Philadelphia for the BIO conference, the largest biopharmaceutical conference in the world. Shane Short, the Economic Development Director in Walton County, and I were able to go to Philadelphia and had a fantastic time. There was over 15,000 people there at the conference. And you probably think, well, how in the world did you get anything done? And I can tell you, we on very little sleep and a lot of coffee. It was a long week, but what's really exciting is we came back, we held a booth with the state of Georgia. We held a reception, which we were asked to by the state of Georgia. We were the only park, only county that was going to be offered to host that with the state, which was very important to us. They trusted in us to do that. We had a little over 85 people show up to our reception. And what we have done since then is we have met monthly with state leaders and the Economic Development Bio Division and doing follow-ups. We've got another event dinner coming soon in the late September, October timeframe. Invitations went out as follow-up, but what's really intriguing is that we've already got 2 site visits coming in 2020. Both of them, one out of Japan and one out of Beijing, I guess, in that area. And so very exciting, very encouraging. Loved our video, loved to see what's going on. Really encouraged that the park is going to be opened up to the other additional acreage. And so it was well worth a trip. We're planning right now, 2020's conference will be in San Diego. And so quite a lot further, but you know, we're also already begin to think about how we can improve as not only our park and our area, but as the whole state of Georgia. Along with that, and I mentioned prospects. As the prospects, we are really targeting in ways to send out not only the video content, but things that we can just to show that the park is still open for business. As you know, usually what happens is when you get a prospect, they go, you're in a downtime. And really, we don't want to seem like you're in a downtime. We're ready and open for business. So we've really tried to flood not only site selectors, but companies and say the additional 600 acres is ready to go in a major way. So what's really encouraging is that along with the new parkway, the JDA was really forward thinking, and they're placing a new 17-acre pad that's going to be pad ready that we can land helicopters or do great site visits or really get a prospect started. And so a part of the thought of not only the great parkway, but that pad ready site will really help jumpstart any type of prospect. So you'll start to see those images. And as Jerry mentioned, we'll have some more media content on that in a second. Current tenants, Takeda continues to increase their employee base. Right now, currently, they are stating they're a little over 1,000 people currently full-time, heavily hiring. At this moment, they are fully in their transition mode since the acquisition. Along with that, we held their leadership here not too long ago out of Ireland, and so it was great to host them. And then Facebook, obviously, if you drive down there, they continue to move at a rapid pace. Already very, very close to completing building 1 and 2, and then moving on to building 3, and you can see a lot of that now.
So part of being in the development business is having all the development out of the way so that you're open for business. So we do have Plateau Grading is doing the grading work. They have the contract for the Parkway extension. So it's really 2 parts to that. Really the biggest part is going to be crossing that creek that's just beyond the training center, and then a section of the Parkway Road. But it's a continuation of the existing divided four-lane parkway. So, and it does open up another 500 plus acres, and 17 acres graded gives us 700,000 square foot building, if you kind of want to know what could go there on that site. But it's not going to be fine graded, so it's an area where we needed to borrow dirt anyway. So they started during the second quarter of the construction. Completion date is estimated at the end of this year or the first part of next year. So let's give you an updated video that was hastily but professionally put together. Tomorrow. That's a big deal. Sure. Okay, thank you. So, let me go into financial briefly. We completed the fiscal year June 30th, and came in under budget. And Newton County dispersed a little over 50,000 in tax revenues collected in 2018 to the counties and school districts under the four-county agreement. Phase 1 of the Parkway is funded in full by the 2018 property sale proceeds. Walton County will disperse all tax revenues received in 2019 from Takeda in the amount of just under $1 million to the counties and school districts per the revenue sharing agreement. And Newton County will also disperse 2019 tax revenues for property located in the Newton County portion of Stanton Springs. Facebook pilot payments will commence once the CO is issued for its first 2 buildings, which could be as soon as 2021. Payment amounts increase as each new building gets a CO up to a total of 5 buildings. Other activities planned, the JDA submitted its first annual House Bill 406 report showing tax revenues generated from Stanton Springs. That's a new bill that was passed, and but we did get it submitted in time. The JDA will work with the counties to create a procedures manual regarding tax digest reporting under this bill. The zoning ordinance amendments coordinated with all the counties is expected to be adopted by the 4 counties in August. That's this month. The JDA created, and just as a little elaboration on that, each county has obviously different words for most of what is the same kind of material. So this kind of cleaned it up, and they all adopted what is part of Stanton Springs, which is a little higher level from the codes and ordinances. The JDA created 4 standing committees as part of its restructuring, and those are park management, billing and so forth for percent of ownership, marketing and economic development, and finance. So activities anticipated this coming quarter, we have a culvert, the big culvert. I mean, it is a big culvert that's going to go into that parkway at the creek crossing, and it's going to be installed tomorrow. So if you want to take a peek, it will be Herculean. Marketing efforts, of course, are ongoing and continue, and Facebook construction activities continue. So unless there are any questions, that is our report.
Any questions, guys? Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that report, by the way. So I want to ask a question. When Takeda, the FDA approval, the goal was that the FDA approval to ramp up a certain number of an increase in jobs. Is that ramp up continuing? Do they know what that was? I know it was projected at 800 maybe at one time after the FDA approval. I don't know what it is now. Maybe those numbers may have been revamped. I don't know.
So their total, we want to get to 1,500. We're at approximately right now about 1,000.
Okay, so 500 more, and this is
And when their FDA approval happened, we probably had another 300.
okay.
Like we'd already hired between the FDA approval and now, there's been about 1,100.
So the goal is approximately 1,500 jobs. Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Steve. That's a good question, Stan, like you asked. So do we have an estimate of how many people actually from Newton may have got, is there a percentage of people?
We don't have an exact percentage. For a lot of reasons, they do that, safety reasons, things like that. They don't want to tell where their employees are from. We have asked many times, and we're happy to ask again. to see if they would provide that. It has to be an employee that's willing
Yes,
to
ma'am.
tell you where they live.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we can ask their HR teams to
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
that.
And the reason why I asked that question, because I think there was since I was on from the very beginning, that's a large investment. I think Citizens of Newton County has invested out there, especially in tax abatements and et cetera stuff that we just kind of gave folks. And when the hope was that at least a good percentage of them, a large percentage of those people who were hired, maybe a third of the people who were hired would come from Newton if they were qualified. But so in my little, I'm not an investigator, but I'll ask questions. Yeah, and they would tell me that a lot of people were being trained from Georgia Tech to actually for those jobs. And so, whatever we need to do in order to maybe encourage our citizens, young people here in Newton to apply for those jobs.
We have, great point, Commissioner Henderson. I will tell you that we are working with a local teacher in our Newton County school system who is trained in the bioscience field. She's had multiple students that have now gone to Georgia Tech, to a Georgia Tech program that worked directly with Baxter at the time, that have come back. So that we're working on trying to find those success stories and bring them back and put them out. But you're exactly right. I can tell you that Takeda and Facebook, I met with Facebook's community development coordinator this week. She's brand new. She just got hired, I think it was August the 2nd. And both of them are very committed to our communities and also committed to the fact they want to hire Georgians, but also locals. Facebook has done an outstanding job of hiring contractors that are local, caterers that are local, things that are really local to our community. And you're going to be really intrigued to see what they're going to bring next. We talked about items such as they want to bring expos to teach small businesses how to use Facebook pages for their businesses. They want to work on policy and assessment with our local commissioners and council members to talk about what's safe to go on Facebook and how to use it correctly. So these are great aspects that could come down the line. And I truly believe that when we look to recruit companies like this, we want to make sure not only are they investing in our community financially, but they're investing in our community in a community sense. And I think we've got two really outstanding winners in the park.
Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you, guys. We greatly appreciate it. Y'all do an awesome job. Next is the county manager's report. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To begin with, I would like to recognize our fire chief, Mike Connor's mother-in-law, who just recently passed. And the chief is with us tonight, so I know we all extend our condolences and our thoughts and prayers are with the family, chief. So, and we'll then we'll go into these slides. Your next slide, please. This is our hiring and separation update. Total employee population is 686 for regular full-time employees. We had 11 new hires and 14 separations. The next slide shows you our permitting activity for the month of July. And you'll see the total estimated cost of the issued permits was almost $7 million. And we had 46 residential permits processed. We had 45 issued. So we are still maintaining pace with where we were last year in terms of development, residential development. Didn't have any new commercial, but we are still on track to do at least as good as we did last year. Next slide, please. Next one, please. This is a recap of Public Works work orders, and you'll see the various numbers of work orders that we had per district. Also at the bottom there, you'll see the resurfacing projects that we worked on during July, and these are all of our LMIG projects. Next slide, please. This is a little self-aggrandizement here. I joined the Rotary Club. Part of my goals for the year are to become active in at least one community organization. So Brian Fazio is my sponsor, so you can blame him. And but it's a good organization, and I think I'm going to enjoy my time with them. Next group of slide that we have is a group of pictures that we had from our inaugural county manager's tabletop on August the 14th. Many of you were able to be there, as well as our constitutional officers. I see the sheriff is here, and he was there that night as well. We had over 70 people come and talk directly to the department heads, and they did a fantastic job of getting ready and preparing all the materials and all that they would need, as well as our constitutional officers that were there. So this was a rounding success, I think, a resounding success. So I think we'll have to have another. So our goal, or my goal, is to have 2 of these a year. Gives us citizens an opportunity to directly engage and to meet the people who run our departments for us and help provide services. So glad everyone came and extend an invitation for the next one that will be in mid-year 2020 in March or April 2020. Next is a notice from our Clerk of Superior Court. Ms. Hayes is conducting some free notary training. So those of you who would like to become a notary, we wanted to make sure everybody saw that and was aware of that. And the next slide is the Rivers Alive program. Volunteers, looking for volunteers to help clean up the rivers here. Annually, we've done quite a bit, hauled quite a few tons of trash out of the Yellow River, the South River, and even parts of Alcovey and Little River. So you can contact our Keep Covington Newton Beautiful office for dates and times, and you'll be seeing this is also posted on our website as well as Facebook page. One last thing before we get to this last slide. In your packets is the long-awaited energy audit from ABM. I'll not go into any details. I'll allow y'all to read that and to soak that up. I will say, just for the public, ABM has reported that they did meet their target goal for saving us money on our utilities. We are verifying the usage through our billing, and doing some analysis on the report that's been given. But I wanted you all to see that just came in Friday, I believe it was, last week. So we want to make sure that you all had that as well. There was also a question on how the savings were determined in the contract. I think Commissioner Cowan asked about that, and it is based on kilowatt hours used, gallons of water used. So it's the savings, the usage, and not necessarily, there is a guaranteed dollar amount, but it is based on kilowatts used and so forth, so consumption. And finally, as a part of my report, I would like to invite James Brown and the Water Resources Department to come up. They were recently recognized. We were selected out of 110 surface waters and plants as having, we won, they won, all their hard work, the People's Choice Award at the Georgia Association of Water Professionals Conference. And so this is all throughout the state of Georgia. And we also recently won the best tasting water in the state of Georgia for all those people. So we have wanted to recognize the department, and I think maybe, James, did you want to say a few things, and then we'll give you a little plaque here. Maybe you can tell the people about this.
Actually, I have Eric Osborne from GAWWA. He wanted to say a few things about the awards and what it meant to the water professional industry.
Yeah, I'm Eric Osborne with, I work for Henry County during the day, but I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the Georgia section of the American Water Works Association. So we do a series of taste tests throughout the state, and Newton County has a clean sweep this year, which is kind of unusual, but yeah, congratulations. But the taste tests, they begin in the spring at the spring joint GAWP-JWWA conference, and we do the district taste test in the morning. So Newton County is part of District 3, which is the toughest district because it's all the metro area. James competes against me at Henry County, so I'm ashamed that we didn't win. We didn't beat you this year, but congratulations. So in the morning they won. We have we have a set of judges, and they judge all these waters blindly, and Newton County won District 3. Then they went and competed against all the other 8 districts in Georgia. In the afternoon, we have a group of prestigious judges, such as yourselves, that judge in the afternoon. So it's a separate set of judges, new set of taste palettes, and they were selected best tasting water for the whole state. Then in June, they got to go to Denver and represent the state of Georgia in Denver, and one of those Rocky Mountain states wound up winning the national taste test. But just to make things even tougher, James sent the Newton County Water Resources water to Savannah, and instead of having a panel of judges, we have the water set up at the AWWA booth, and people come by, and only the district winners are allowed to compete. So there were 4 district winners down there. So out of all the people, over 1,500 people at that conference, they still picked Newton County Water Resources best, and that's the people's choice. So you have all of the hardware for this year. You have bragging rights, and display it proudly. And it's nice to know your water meets all federal and state standards, but it's also great to know that it tastes good coming right out of the tap. So congratulations, James.
And thank you. We're obviously very proud of the department and all the achievements. James has done a lot of wonderful things over there under his leadership, and I know he's got a great group of people with him, and they're all out here. So we want to present you with this certificate, but also we want to get pictures with you.
Hey, can we get his department? Can we get his department to stand also to be recognized?
Commissioners and me, I'd like to say congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, guys. Excellent job. Thank you. Thank you.
See you again.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Outstanding. Yeah, congratulations. Outstanding. Thank you.
Congratulations. How you doing? Congratulations. Thank you.
Well, it's actually, the bulk of it comes from just the Cornish Creek. And then you pump out after you get too low. So, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have one other item.
Yes, sir.
And this is a rather big item. Laura Bertram is here tonight to talk about the complete count committee for the census and why. Tell us a little bit about why it's important for us to form a complete count committee. Also, Tim Lawrence with our GIS department is here. You received a memo from him telling you a little bit about the things that we've already done in preparation. And so,
Good evening, and I want to thank you all for your time. And I know that you've had a long week already. It's only Wednesday, so I will be brief, which is why I'm sticking to my notes. For those of you who know me, that would be a blessing. I am Laura Bertram. I'm with the Family Connection in Newton County, and this is Molly Melvin. She and I are the staff of 2 for the Newton County Family Connection, and there's one of us in every county in the state of Georgia. We are here on behalf of the state Family Connection Partnership, their effort to work with the government to get a complete and accurate count of Newton County citizens for the 2020 census, which happens to be coming up next year. The Georgia Family Connection Partnership is a partner in the state's initiative to establish local complete count committees to build awareness of the importance of the census and motivate residents to respond. They have asked each Family Connection collaborative in the state to help facilitate any work that is being done to improve our state count. Our goal is to gather as many community partners as possible, which is why I'm glad well, I wish there were more. I wish there were as many as were here last night. But that everybody hear about the work that we're about to embark upon and know that this is a community effort, not just one of the county. It is particularly our local businesses, our city governments and churches, neighborhoods, and the goal is to build relationships with the people in our neighborhoods so that they feel safe and confident as to why they're completing a census and what they will get if they do. So what is a decennial census? First of all, it's hard to say. But other than that, since 1790, the United States has been conducting this count every 10 years. It is our one shot, once every 10 years, to accurately count the population of residents in our city and our counties. Getting an accurate count is vital to the continued success of our state because the decennial census count determines the ways representation and resources are distributed. It's coming next year. And this is why it's important to have an accurate count. You can read on the slide that for every person counted in 2010, the census brought $2,300 to Georgia annually. I have an article written by Gabe Cooley with the Covington News that reads, the Newton County population count was 99,958 residents. That is 42 people short of the 100,000, which was a federal benchmark for allocating greater percentage of federal dollars. Commissioner Morgan, who happens to be here tonight, was gracious enough to speak with me, and as a leader, she was devastated that Newton was only 42 citizens short of benefiting from greater support, particularly at a time when more of our citizens were needing that support. So I thank you, Commissioner Morgan, for your work. The undercount matters because it dictates how the money is spent, and countless more on the next slide. The big winners from the census include Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, which is food stamps, and highway planning and construction, which of course we do need in Newton County, and then the Pell Grant Fund program, but also for our population, WIC, Head Start, school lunch, affordable housing, special education, foster care service, and more. There is a sheet on the table behind me that lists 50 ways the census count makes a difference in Newton County. Okay. For example, after the 2010 decennial census count, Georgia gained one congressional seat. If we don't count our full population, we could miss out on potential representation in Congress. And this is a particularly dicey time for the state of Georgia because it is a time when many people are afraid to be counted. And if our county has a fairly healthy count, we can compensate for other counties that just aren't able to do that. We currently do not have enough funding for childcare and for children under 5. We just don't have enough seats in our pre-K programs or in our child care centers, and that's assuming they could pay. Federal funds help subsidize the cost of tuition for low-income families. And right now, only 60% of the, I think it's 394 seats for pre-K children are being used by children who come from low-income families. And those are the ones most at risk for not being successful in school. On the next slide, we talk about how businesses are impacted. I spoke with Debbie Harper, who's the interim president for the chamber. she too has offered the chamber's help to make sure that we get the best count we can do. So we know that we can count on the chamber. I also spoke to Ms. Fury at the school system because education is so desperately in need of these funds. And she has offered the schools support as well. You can see that children are the ones who lose the most, and they're the ones who are the least likely to be counted. And then the general population of people who are hard to count is something that we should not be surprised at. Low-income families, people who are homeless. Interestingly enough, I won't tell you. The next slide is it is a piece of the nationwide picture of the hard to count area, which is defined as those census tracts that had a mail return rate below 73%. Georgia had a 77.2 return rate. Newton County had 75%, which was down from the rate that was gathered in 2000. And then this is a picture that was taken from the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission. We are to the lower left. And you can see what is darker, and as it gets darker, oh, that's great, thank you. The areas that are hard to count, and those are the ones, that is a strip of poverty, right down 36, and off to the left, they're right on the border of Rockdale County. However, take a look at Athens. That's the one that's all blue. They are struggling as well. Okay. This is what we can do as a community. We can form a complete count committee. We can educate our network and encourage community members to participate in it. And we can partner with state and local organizations doing outreach to leverage our state and local perspective. And today we were actually, the chairman had invited 3 representatives from the state census bureau who have offered their support to make sure that we get all the resources we need to make this a successful count. Note that it is a voluntary committee, and what we envision is lots of small groups of people speaking with people that they already know, because as wonderful and as impressive as the technology is to conduct this count, it is the relationships that people have that make the difference if they will participate or not. Okay, we can use our own local knowledge, expertise, and influence to create our own count committees that are tailored to the neighborhoods they serve. And then we can promote and participate in this in complete count trainings. We have not even had any kind of information about that as yet, but that will be coming. People can, I have a list also on the paper of sites that tell more about the census and explain how it impacts Newton County. We are partnering across the state. The Family Connection is partnering with Voices for Georgia's Children, the Georgia Municipal Association, the Association of County Commissioners, which is y'all, and the Latino Community Fund Georgia. And in closing, I'd just like to say that the Newton County Family Connection addresses the current well-being of children and families. We use data to inform the connections that we make, and then we communicate what happens with that data. My goal, personally, is to help establish a foundation in Newton County that supports a community where my grandchildren will want to live, work, and play. I heard Kathy Morgan's frustration when the 2010 census count was 99,958. So the county was misappropriated. And of course, that's when the county was feeling the very height of the recession. If we can hit this mark, the county will reap benefits for 10 years. This work will serve as part of each one of your legacies for Newton County. And I can't think of a better way to have a legacy. The time and effort you put in now will help establish a foundation for a community where your family will want to live. Help us get the count that will benefit Newton citizens, those people in your district who may need services that we struggle locally now to provide. You know your district. Each one of you knows who is active and involved. They know the areas that need attention. Please help us engage them. In addition to spreading awareness, please encourage the residents who live in your district to apply for temporary employment with the Census Bureau, to apply for a job. It's up there and it's also on the sheet that I've handed out. Chairman Baines will appoint the initial members of the committee. They will establish the next steps, and the Family Connection in Newton County is committed to helping.
Um,
Does anyone have?
Thank you. This is something that I think that we can, as a board, that we can tackle. I think we can get it done. I think it's very important to our community. We'll be meeting with Mr. Kerr, hopefully first of next weekend. We can start coming together, try to establish a team, something that we can bring back to the board. So guys, get ready. Let's get ready to work. We definitely get it done. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for actually helping us with this. We did meet with the census today, the state. We had 3 people to come, and I thought it was a great meeting. A lot of information was given out, and so I think we can get it done. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And I just wanted to say part of that, one of the things that we learned in that meeting is that this year, or this census, the Census Bureau has decided to make this a digital report as opposed to having the mailed out paper reports. There will be some, as I understood it, there will be some documents that are mailed out to areas that are typically underserved by the internet, and that some of the more rural areas, some of the areas that have some high rates of poverty, where they would not have necessarily access to some of the equipment. So this is going to be a new thing, and this is why it is important to try to get all the community members involved as much as possible, at least getting the message out, because the count is going to rely on people actively accessing a website. And you can do it on your cell phone, you can do it on the computer, laptop, whatever, but it will require people to actively to do it. And so you'll get a postcard that says the census is, we're going on the census, and here's your information that for the website, the links, and so forth. But it is going to require something a little different than has ever been required in the past. So.
Well, and this ties in also to the work that Commissioner Edwards is trying to do to bring broadband down to the southern part of Newton County. This is something that also, when we have a count, that can bring federal funds in to help support that work as well. And that brings more equity to more people.
And many of the agencies here in the county rely on federal dollars for support. They rely on us as well to some extent. So obviously it's going to have an impact. It would definitely have an impact even for other things such as transportation money that would be available. There's a list of things, about 50 different things that the census, the data acquired during the census is where it's used to determine allocation and spending decisions. So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Lloyd, if someone does not have the ability to register by phone or by computer, is there going to be a central computer location where they can come and register?
That is going to, there's not something that the Census Bureau has set up. This is part of the engagement, if you will, from a complete count committee to help establish those places. The libraries do have computers where you can get on the internet, so that would be one of the first places. But you are able to do it by phone, and so you conceivably you could borrow somebody's phone in order to get on.
Well, I guess I just hope, because not all phones are smartphones.
No,
So,
and
is there gonna be some way to maybe call in? or
yes,
because
there
Yes,
is an
I'm sorry, you
800
can
number.
call
elderly,
too,
and
I'm
they don't
sorry.
necessarily have access to.
And you can help, volunteers can help people, uh, can, answer the questions. They can't do it for them for obvious reasons, but they can guide them through that process. And I'm thinking of senior citizens or, people who are not familiar with computers at all. And you can make phone calls, you will have support systems to help that, make sure that, and that's why really small groups are gonna be very effective, because it'll be more one-on-one meeting.
And they are hiring, so if people are looking for a job in all levels of the program, everything from the interviewer in the field all the way up through executive type level supervisory positions for regions and stuff. And if you look at the internet, I believe it's 2020census.gov is the site that will lead you to, and you can go to the Department of Labor and all.
And if
But,
you need, I'll leave the list here and you can put it downstairs as well. Hopefully Brian will be able to put it on your website.
Yeah.
And once we get the committee put in place, they are going to do a training. So a lot of that information that you'll be able to get. So when we do the training stuff. But guys, thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate all that you do in helping this community. So we want to say thank you tonight.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes my report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is the consent agendas. Commissioners, you had an opportunity to see the consent agenda. I seek a motion of approval, please. Can I get a, thank you. It's been motion by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is item number 9. It's the financial report. Ms. Brittany?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like our acting finance director, Brittany White, to come up and give the information to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so it's not the financial report, so don't want anybody to think it's going to be the monthly
I'm sorry.
financials.
I apologize.
So this is budget amendments that we need to process to be able to clean up FY19 and have everything properly where it needs to be accounted for. So I have 6 of those on here tonight. The first one is the sheriff would like to request to move $27,000 remaining dollars in his FY19 West Side budget to the capital improvement fund to finish out the West Side renovations. The second one is IT has the Laserfish software, and basically Laserfish is allowing us to turn in our old software and we get credit back for it. So we have to book that as a revenue, and so since this is upping the bottom line budget, we do have to actually bring a budget amendment to you because he will have technically more funds in his budget than he was given at the beginning. The third one, we have juvenile who needs to request to move funds from their personnel budget to cover professional and indigent defense. Fourth, fifth, and sixth are just contingent positions that were filled in June. And as you remember, we had the contingency for new positions. And once we fill them, we remove the dollars from that line and then put it into the budget. Do y'all have any questions about those?
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions tonight? Commissioner Schultz?
So Brittany, just to be clear for the audience, we're just moving this money from one category to another.
Yes.
We're not asking for appropriating new funds.
No.
It's just moving it from one
Correct.
line item to another.
Yes. So all of these movements require board approval. So I cannot process them through our system without approval from you.
Thank you. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please. I think we have to do state the names one by one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A motion to approve finance budget amendments transfers for fiscal year 19 budget for Sheriff's Office, IT, Juvenile Services, Fire Services, District Attorney's Office, and Newton County Jail.
Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Next is number 10, item 10. Ms. Brittany, please.
Okay, so this one is just an IGA with the Recreation Commission to allow us to turn over the 2017 SPOS funds to them once collected. So this will be handled similarly the way that we handle all the cities. So once we get the revenue in for the month, we then issue them a check to turn the funds over to them as they manage those. So they will be managing the Recreation Department existing facility funds, the Spring Hill Park facility funds, District 4 existing park upgrades, Chimney Park, and District 2 improvements. Any questions?
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Henderson?
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking that these projects, the money for these projects is already bonded.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, are a few of them, not
Like-
all of them. The ones that are bonded are let's see, the District 4 existing parks and the District 2 improvements.
Thank you. I seek a motion. You got to state the name of the,
I thought you already called me on that. So moved as stated by the finance director for the existing park facility, Spring Hill Park, District 4, existing park, upgrade, Chimney Park, and District 2 improvements.
thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is 10A. Fire service seek approval. Mr. Kirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call on Chief Connor to come up to the podium and answer any questions that you might have about this piece of equipment and to explain exactly what it is and what it does.
Good evening.
Good evening. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. This is something we did put in our 2019-2020 budget. This is a specialized unit that we need in the fire service. It is a mobile air and light unit that we would use on structure fires and even big incidents, even water rescue. This truck, we can fill scuba tanks. Right now, we only have one breathing air compressor machine in the county, and it's at our Station 1 at Covington Bypass and Flat Shoals. But that actual unit is actually getting antiquated. Last time we had it serviced, they're telling us that there are no longer parts to support that unit. So we're looking at it's going to have to be replaced. And my opinion was make it mobile. That way, this unit can go to these scenes. We can fill air cylinders, and after a major incident, the trucks are in service when we leave the scene. Now, if it's like on the south side down around Jackson Lake, we have to pull all the units, engine 3, engine 14, back to Station 1 just to fill air cylinders so that they can go back in service. So this is going to cut down on downtime, getting trucks in their zones back in service because we're taking the air to them. They're not having to come to a centrally located station to get the trucks ready to for another response.
Thank you. Commissioner Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a pretty expensive piece of equipment. How did we seek competitive pricing for this particular piece of equipment?
I know that we are a member of a co-op, and it's a national, it's already bid out nationally, and so I know that Mr. Kerr.
It's very similar to the process whereby you have state negotiated contract. This actually works on a national basis. The state of Georgia is part of it. And so we're able to take advantage of this program. And so that's how we, so it's a state approved contract that's actually with a national order.
Anyone else? Thank you, Chief. I seek a motion, please. I seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion, we approve, are we looking for a, what are we looking for? We're looking for
A motion of approval.
a motion, item number, that's item number
10A.
10A.
From the consent agenda, item A.
It's number A on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the fire services seek approval to enter into a lease purchase contract with William Fire Apparatus for air and light vehicle at a cost of $552,556, $89,158 annually for a 7-year lease. And the source being FY20 capital outlay budget.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Schultz. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Next, 10B. The animal control, Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I would request that we table this item until the September 3rd meeting. I was made aware today that our legal staff had not done a final review after the revisions were made. And so we'd like to make sure we complete that. And so I would like to table it until our next meeting.
Thank you, sir. What's that date?
I would like to note that we had meetings today to begin to discuss the design of the buildings. The contract was awarded to Sunbelt Builders, which you know from last meeting. However, and so they've agreed to go ahead and they want to start working on the project. And so we did meet with them today. But I'll get these contracts, give them final review, bring them back to you.
Thank you, sir. September 3rd. I seek a motion that we table this until our next board meeting, which will be September 3rd.
I move to table this animal control senior services purchasing as requested by Mr. Kerr to September 3rd.
Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? It's tabled until September 3rd, first board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is 10C, Public Works, Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to ask that our transportation engineer, Mr. Chester Clegg, come up and talk with you a little bit again about this call for projects for the ARC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago to the board, the ARC has a call for projects. It's called a tip solicitation. It's opened August 12th, and I think it closes out on October 11th. And I have 3 projects that I was proposing to submit for possible funding. No guarantee that any of them will get funded. Very likely the first project, the Coral Road we have underway, very likely it will be fully funded. Second project I proposed to submit for funding was a 3-lane widening of Brown Bridge from Walmart to Jack Neely Road with curb and gutter and sidewalks both sides of the street. And then hopefully if we get funding for that, maybe within 2 years I could request funding for Jack Neely to Kroll, and then the improvements at Kroll and Brown Bridge Road. So, and the third one is the bridge on Dial Mill Road at Little Haynes Creek. Replace that bridge and realign High Tower Trail. So,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here tonight. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
I'll move for approval for Public Works to seek approval to submit 3 projects to the Atlanta Regional Commission for funding the access road bypassing Pearl Road, widening Brown Bridge Road, bridge replacement on Dial Mill Road at
It's been motioned by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All
I
in
just
favor?
have an announcement as part of this.
Commissioner Schultz?
Just, are you aware that there's a public hearing for the access road bypass to GDOT?
Any more? All in favor? You want to state the reason why?
Excuse me, I just don't have enough information on this big project to make a sound decision.
Thank you, sir. It passes, 3-1, for one abstention. Next on the agenda is, item 11. Attorney seek consideration of relocation, reestablishment benefits from the estate of Jack A. Lassiter.
Thank you, Chairman Baines. As you all will recall, Mr. Lassiter's property was part of the DOT road expansion. Unfortunately, Mr. Lassiter has passed away, and his family has come to us to finish up the business with that road widening project, which we did have a contract as far as what could be done and what could not be done for payment with Mr. Lassiter prior to his death. So we are looking now at what are the basic components of the compensation in this situation. If you all recall, there was a person that rented a property or a part of a property behind Mr. Lassiter's house. So the payment for the property itself, then relocation assistance for the tenant to find replacement housing. That is the last payment that was recently approved, and 3, reimbursement for the owner to establish a substitute rental property elsewhere. So the Georgia Department of Transportation caps the amount of reestablishment benefits at $25,000. This cost is eligible for reimbursement under the county's contract with GDOT. GDOT pays up to 80%. I'm not certain if we've met that number or not, Mr. Flagg, but nonetheless, GDOT has reviewed and approved the request and receipts submitted by Mr. Lassiter and later his family members. If this meets with the board's approval, payment will be issued to Mr. Lassiter's estate due to his recent passing.
I seek a motion, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, that's formerly my district. I'm gonna have to recuse myself. I'm doing some work on the estate with Mr. Lassiter in regard to the sale of some other property.
Okay. I'm seeking a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to approve as stated by the county attorney for Mr. Lassiter's estate.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, passes 3-1 with 1 recusal. Next is item number 12, the Board of Elections. Approval of the revised IGA with the City of Kevinton, Mr. Kerr. I'm sorry. Ms. Martin, please.
Thank you, Chairman Baines. The County Board of Elections in Covington signed an election service agreement during our SDS negotiations. The IGA does need to be updated. The revised version is necessary because the version of the IGA signed during SDS negotiations prohibited the county from running special elections for the city. Now that the city wants to add some special election questions to the November 5th ballot, we need to amend the existing IGA to authorize the Board of Elections to include those questions. It's merely a wording issue. We're changing it to allow from disallow. That's the only change in the document. If this meets with the board's approval, I would ask that we move for approval and we'll move forward and keep you updated.
Thank you. I'll take a motion, please. Mr. Cowell. Commissioner Cowell?
I make a motion to approve the revised agreement with the city of Douglasville administration for the
It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowell and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you. Our next is item number 13, resolution R082119. Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Chairman Banks. As you all will recall, for the last few years, we've had a coyote challenge that DNR has put on, and we've been requested to extend some of the hunting out there. The resolution is R082119, merely authorizing hunting and trapping of coyotes on certain properties through August 20th of 2020.
Thank you. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we approve resolution R082119, a resolution of the Newton County Board of Commissioners authorizing hunting and trapping of coyotes on certain county properties through August 20th of the year 2020.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Schultz. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. This opportunity we allow citizens to come up and make comments. You may do so at this time. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. You may come at this time.
Good evening, guys. My name is Cindy Jordan, 1065 Silverthorne Drive. I am with an organization called Say No to ETO Georgia. ETO is for ethylene oxide. I'm sure most of you probably heard all about it. I'm not sure how many of you were at the meeting last night. Can I see? Okay. I saw several of you. Yay. That's wonderful. So I have some flyers at the end that I'd like to pass out in case you didn't get one last night, just explaining our point of view. What I wanted to share and focus on tonight is there are some cities that have already gone through this battle. There are 3 in particular that have already fought to get independent quality air testing in their cities. Those 3 cities, one was in Willowbrook. You've heard of that one, I'm sure. Willowbrook, Illinois. Another was Lakewood, Colorado. And a third one was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They were all told that the companies that they were dealing with were compliant. They were all told that they were safe. There was nothing to worry about. EPA assured them all they were fine. They got the testing back. Guys, I want to let you know that the rates of cancer rate, 100 out of 1,000,000 is what the EPA says is acceptable. Willowbrook, Illinois, their cancer risk far exceeded that. It went up to 6,400 out of 1,000,000. That is an enormous increase based on actual factual air data, air testing data. Colorado's went up to 5,600. Grand Rapids, Michigan increased to 1,700. That is an incredible difference. So what the projected models showed was nowhere close to what actuality was. Now, I'm praying that that's not what we see. Obviously, none of us want that because then we know the ramifications of that. What my fear is that that's what's going to happen. You have all these big businesses, Stanton, Stanton Springs, get tongue twisted, Facebook, BioLab, Takeda, all of these industries that are coming to Covington. They want to bring families here. They're going to bring executives here from all over the world. We have got to make sure that we have air testing done, not just in Covington, but all around Newton County. So I'm coming to beg of you to please put that on your agenda, to appropriate some funds from a contingency fund, emergency fund, wherever you can pull it. And let's make sure that Newton County is safe. Otherwise, we're not going to have new industry come into our county. We are Newton one Newton. We have got to show that. We've got to have a effort put out there to show the public that we are together and that we can fight for each other, not against each other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to speak tonight? Anyone else? Commissioner Cowell.
Caught me off guard again. The only thing I have, I mentioned to Lloyd, would you check on East End Road? I've got several complaints about in that curve there. I don't know if you and Chester need to take a look at that, but evidently there's a lot of cars that are missing that curve and knocking mailboxes down through there. I don't know if it's a speeding issue or if it's a curve issue. The residents that have called me have said that they think it's a design issue. So if you would just take a look at that. And I do want to just say in regards to what the young lady just said, that everybody is scared. We're just waiting, trying to get all the information we can. The county will be, and I'm sure the chairman will respond to this soon in just a few minutes, but we're doing everything we can to get all the information first, and then we can make decisions once we've got good information. So, but we're all concerned, and we hope that you're right. We hope those levels are not real high or anything like that or dangerous, but everybody here is concerned about that. So thank you for bringing it to our attention again.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Chairman. Have one or two things. I touch on the ethylene oxide in the second comment. First comment I have is that, I've been thinking over the past 2-3 years, maybe going on 4 years, and the fact that the chairman has not been over the road department. And even though I think we are somewhat, at least I know I am, at least I feel that way, constrained, not being able to put something on the agenda. But I think there's something that needs to go back to the chairman. And I would ask that Chairman Bangs at some point maybe poll the commissioners to see if we can get that back under the chairman. And I'll tell you one reason. Because I think my friend Lord is kind of doing a whole lot of work. It's something I think that will leave a little bit of work. And also I think under the what I had worried the county attorney about for so long was about on the home rule that it could be changed back because we had changed other county managers and others under the home rule. And I would like to look at that and change that back under the chairman. Second one, the ethylene oxide. Since this came up, I've been to every house in most of 2/3 of the respective areas and talked to them. And there is cancer out there. And it was so bad that the young lady wanted to come to the meeting. She couldn't come because she had breast cancer. And I think until you can see the full impact in our community, you have to go out and you'll see it. And I call it a crisis. I think we need to open the eyes. I can tell some of our young people, I say, young ladies, young men, y'all need to test for cancer because I think it's very high. And I think this is something we need to be addressed. And lastly, I think we as the county should either be side by side with the city of Covington or if not taking the lead. And I understand that the city of Covington appropriated $68,000 for canister to be placed around the city. That's good. I think a lot more needs to be done. Thank you.
Commissioner Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I attended last night's meeting and I found it very informative. I spoke with a couple of the presenters afterwards, and we'll follow up with some of their that we're going to talk further. So I do appreciate your coming for us tonight. I think we need to get a lot more information. We need to hold the EPD accountable. They obviously understand that they dropped the ball. They admitted that, and we need to, but I think that we can hold them accountable. And so I think there's more to come, and we will be steadfast in making sure that they continue to do what they are expected to do. I also want to share with you that on Friday, there is the Great Pollinator Census that's going to be occurring in Newton County. Now, for those of you that don't know what the pollinator census is, we have a problem in our country with bees and different types of pollinators that are decreasing in great quantities. And so around the county, a lot of us have planted gardens that specifically attract those pollinators to help with pollinating plants. And that's important for our survival as a planet. So on Friday, Friday and Saturday, there are 2 locations on Friday. At 10 o'clock, the Oaks Force will have a pollinator census, and at 5 p.m., Academy Springs. On Saturday, Oxford College Organic Farm from 9 to 10 a.m. and Yellow Hen Farm from 4 to 6 p.m. Public is welcome to come, and for 15 minutes you can be scientists and count the pollinators. And then we send all this information is being conducted with the University of Georgia. So we send our census to the University of Georgia, and then they conduct research from there. So I invite you to select one of those locations and show up and become a scientist for a day.
Thank you, Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the meetings last night, and in fact, I attended the meeting a couple of Mondays ago over at Legion Field. I had a gentleman last night ask me why the county had not been more verbal in terms of a stance on this particular issue. And I can't speak for this entire board. I know our chairman has been out front leading the way for us. But I'll tell you from a personal perspective, I want to watch and see what the facts reveal. As Commissioner Cowan stated, we're still waiting on those facts. And I'm a big proponent of independent testing. I believe the city is funding that as we speak. So I want to see what the facts tell us, and not necessarily what Facebook tells me. Also, I want to throw something else into this mix. This county doesn't do emissions testing. There are lots of things going into our air. You stand on 278 over here without B&D present, and you're going to get ethylene oxide readings, more so probably than you would around that plant. But I want to wait and see what the facts say. I have a personal vested interest, and I touched on a little of this one time before. The first 5 years of my life were spent within 200 yards of that plant. My grandmother worked in that plant, died of cancer complications. My grandfather died of cancer complications. They both lived within 300 yards of that plant for 30 years. My father passed away 2.5 years ago, pulmonary fibrosis, an issue of the lungs, and he lived 10 or 15 years within, like I say, 200 yards of that plant. So I have a real vested interest, and for somebody to ask me, last night, I was really taken aback, almost asking me why we didn't care or why I didn't care. That's just simply not the case. I'm waiting on facts. I was really taken aback by the fact that 2 weeks ago I learned that the only air testing we've done is not actually air testing; it's modeling. And to take samples in DeKalb County, the prevailing winds are west to east, and to take samples in DeKalb County is absurd in my opinion. You take our air samples in Madison, which you should do, in my uneducated opinion on that particular input. But I think we're moving in the right direction. Indeed, the county does care, and I think our chairman is leading that charge. And I just wanted to put that out there and make that a matter of record. But I feel like we all care and we're pushing in the right direction. But we got to have facts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to switch gears a little bit here. There's an announcement that I failed to make earlier, and that is that this Saturday from 8 to 12 at Turner Lake Park, the Georgia DNR is going to be there for a wildlife day. They'll have their birds of prey. They'll have snakes and some classes on how to tell a poisonous snake from a non-poisonous snake. They'll also be there with some other wildlife. There'll be hot dogs for everybody. There'll be some prizes and raffles. So just want to encourage everybody to go out and to enjoy that. That's this Saturday from 8 to 12, Turner Lake.
Thank you, sir. I got two quick adjustments. Do Mr. Fazio first. Brian, do you want to announce about the rec groundbreaking, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. The rec department will be celebrating a ribbon cutting, which I believe all the board has been invited to, on September 12th for the county's first splash pad. That will be at Denny Dobbs Park. The ribbon cutting, I believe, I don't have the time on me. It's in the afternoon. I believe it's at 4 o'clock. And that will open the county's first splash pad. Again, that's at Denny Dobbs Park. The splash pad will be open on weekends when the weather's warm. So unfortunately this year it'll be open through October, and then next year we'll have a big grand opening, probably March or April, when the weather warms up a little bit. Again, that's the county's first splash pad. It's at 4 o'clock. County's first splash pad at Denny Dobbs Park.
And Sarah, I forgot to announce about the job fair, if you will.
Thank you, Chairman. Just want a quick announcement. We are coming back with the regional job fair. It will be October the 4th. So please mark your calendars. Last year we had over 63 vendors and over 1,000 people showed. We are again partnering with 6 different counties. It will be Newton, Walton, Morgan, Jasper, Rockdale, and Greene County. It all come together and do this event. It will be held at Georgia Piedmont Technical College on Bob Williams Parkway. It will be all day. Just to kind of give you some updates, the team met today. We're going to do things such as on-the-job training, free continuing education classes will be held just like last year, but then we are also going to do professional services. If you do not have a resume, you can make one that day and print it out, get it ready to go. So if you don't have one, we will also have a coat closet that we are going to be giving away free suit jackets for men and women. So if you do not have professional wear, we have worked now with Fish out of Walton County, and we're approaching the Goodwill to be able to see if we can get free clothing of that sort. And then also we'll have mock interviews ready to go, and we will be working with WorkSource, that is a part of WIOA, to bring out the free mobile buses that have computer labs that you can go straight into a computer lab and be able to sign on for an application. It'll be all day, October the 4th. We'll send you more information. You're going to start seeing it come out. There was an article, I think yesterday, in the Covington News about it. But I believe that the county's HR team is already signed up. And so we need more vendors, and then really just spreading the news of how we get the people there. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm very excited about the job fair. Also, I'll go back to the splash pad. Is there a charge, or will there be a charge for use of that splash pad at the Dobbs Park?
I don't believe so, Commissioner. It'll be open for the public. Just limited hours, but it will be open, at least for right now.
So I just want to be clear, because I've heard some stuff, and I'm just trying to get it straight. So
let's wait before we make that announcement, because I think there will be a charge.
Yes, there will be a charge. The
there
second
will be.
year.
Okay. I'm sorry.
There won't be a charge.
charge.
There won't be a charge at the first opening, but next year I think there will be a charge.
Okay, I just want to get it straight so they know.
Lost my train of thought. Yeah. Mess me up. Guys, first, let me just say, we want to make sure that we invite all the commissioners out to the job fair. We want you guys to be there. If you can, please be there. But we've been working hard with this situation with BART over there. We've been working with the governor's office. We've been talking to them pretty much on a daily basis. And the governor has stepped out in front of this issue. He met with BART, I think, yesterday. I was told that the meeting didn't go quite like he wanted it to go. I don't know if I need to say it out here, but I don't think the meeting went that well. But you know, we want our citizens to know that we are not backing down, or shying away from anything. Uh, but we need to be informed before we make any kind of decision. We need to know exactly what's going on. And I will tell you that me and Lloyd has talked about some things. But before we bring anything to this board, we want to make sure we know what we're doing. We got our facts straight, and because hey, we all are raising a family here, families here, so we want to make sure that we all are safe in our community. Is there a need for executive session? There is a need. Okay, potential litigation. We won't be taking a vote tonight, guys. We greatly appreciate you being here. Um, Again, we will not be taking a vote tonight. I seek a motion that we move. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson, and second by Commissioner Edwards that we move into executive session.